So today I'm going to be talking about my 2023 SAS list and some adjustments that I have made to the SAS list. This is actually my second time filming this audio. I'm used to calling it a video, but it's audio. And that is because I spoke incredibly fast in the last one. So I just want to let you all in on something that you may or may not be aware of. And if you are, that's fine. But I just want to give this as a tip to anyone in case you don't know. Anytime you're watching a YouTube clip, be it on a PC or a laptop, or be it on a device like a phone or a tablet or something like that, you can click onto the cogwheel, the settings of that particular video, and either slow it down or speed it up. This is actually something that I do a lot when I find someone on YouTube that I think is talking a bit slowly for me. I speed up the audio so it seems like more of a normal pace. I'm letting you know this because if I talk too quickly for you all, please do feel free to slow me down. And if I talk too slowly, feel free to speed me up. Here's a tip for all of you out there that are wondering what I do when I watch my own videos back, because I do that. I actually put my videos onto 1.5 speed. So yeah, you do what you want to do. I just want to let you know that. All right, on to the SAS list and what's going on. So for those of you who don't know, the SAS list, SAS list, was created by Elizabeth from booktube channel Lizzie Faye Loves Books. It stands for Serious About Series. The only real rule for a SAS list is that you put series onto your own SAS list if you are a reader who likes series, and you plan to either start, continue on, or complete a series on a series or a number of series, whatever it is, on that list. So it's just basically some form of goal setting that you do for yourself. Now moving on to my specific SAS list for 2023. So, whilst I have technically got one SAS list, and I see it that way, I broke my one SAS list up into 3 sections. So the first section was my to be completed section. My second section was my to get as far through as I can section, and my third section was my to make some good headway or at least begin section. I have way too many series on this one SAS list throughout the course of these 3 sections, and I have come to realize that there is no way that I will be completing all of these series. Now that's okay. Remember, as I said earlier, originally when Elizabeth from Lizzie Faye Loves Books spoke about the creation of the SAS list, the purpose of it was to start, commence, or to continue on, or to complete that series. But for me, because I separated my SAS list into those 3 sections, the first section was my to be completed section. So my goal initially was to get through all of the series in that first section. The problem with this is that I put way too many series on my to be completed section. In fact, I have placed, and I need to work it out because I jumbled things up here and so I don't have an exact number. Let me check. Okay, I placed 18 series into that to be completed section. Now, the good thing about this 18 series is that the longest series on that 15 series list to be completed only had 4 books in it. So it's not like I had 15 or whatever it was that I just said. Sorry, I don't remember. 18. It's not like I had 18 series that had a minimum of 7 books, if not more. They were short series. So either they were duologies, or they were trilogies, or they were quartets. But still, I know that I won't get through all of them. Now, a big part of the reason why I now am 100% sure that I won't get through all of them is because of something that I started realizing a couple of weeks ago. And yesterday, at the time of recording, I ended up doing something about it. So one of my biggest goals for 2023 was to read more diversely, to be more eclectic when it came to my reading. Now, what do I mean by this? I mean that I want to read multiple genres, but that's not enough for me. I'm not just saying I want to read multiple genres, because that's very easy to do. If I compile a list of 10 genres and read one book from every genre, I've achieved that goal. What I wanted to do was not only read more eclectically and read several genres, but I wanted to read several books within all of the genres that I wanted to read. Now, at the end of the day, I'm only human, and there's only so much I can do. But I ran into a massive problem with this, which lied directly in the face of another goal that I had, which is to do with my cozy mystery reading. Don't worry, we will get into the SAS list soon enough. In fact, let's put a timestamp up on the screen as to when I get onto my SAS list if you want to skip this entire intro and just jump to that. Alright, but in the meantime, I just want to explain this to you. Okay, so for me, when it came to my cozy mysteries last year, I had been introduced to cozy mysteries in June of 2021, and not surprisingly in 2022, I had a huge SAS list where 75% of the series at least 75% of the series that I had on my 2022 SAS list were cozy mysteries. So the majority of what I read were cozies. One thing I did not like about this, because there's so much praise that I have for cozies, otherwise I wouldn't have kept reading them. This is not me saying I don't like cozies, not at all. It's just me saying that one thing that I did not like when I got to the end of the year and I looked at my stats for how many books I read for each genre, I read so many cozies that, and I don't remember the amount, I keep saying it was somewhere between 55 and 65, if not a little more, somewhere around there, that I read last year. And then second place, whatever the second genre was that I read, I think I'd read maybe 12. And so that's a major difference, as you can see. 65 cozies and then 12 for whatever the second genre is, and then maybe 10 for the third and 6 for the fourth. And it was way off as far as trying to keep things even and equal, which is what I wanted to do. So I came into 2023 with the goal to not only read more eclectically, but also to be more even in the amount of books per genre that I read. The problem with that was that I realized that if I include January, February, and March of 2023 stats, and I look at them right now, which I am literally doing. If you want to follow along with me, you absolutely can. Come onto the Discord, link is in the description. If you go to the reading/bookish goals section and click on the channel name Mr. Francy, and then look at my goal to read more diversely. I did not read that before I started this video, but that's what it's called, to read more diversely, which is my first goal. Which should also show a lot because it's the first goal that I have in this channel. So, I mean, that's how important it was for me. You will see that I have two major headings, one called age ratings, the other called genres. And what I'm doing there is I am listing the amount of books that I have read in those sections. So for age ratings, how many middle grades, YA, and adult, and I update this every month, and I do the same at the end of each month, I should say, and I do the same with my genres. And when I look at my genres section, in the months of January, February, March, I read 9 cozies, 5 contemporaries, 3 LGBTIQ+, 3 fantasies, 2 memoirs, 2 paranormals, and it goes down from there. So had I read one more cozy, it would have been 10 cozy mysteries and 5 contemporaries, already double the amount of cozies to the second place genre. And the further you go down, the worse it looks as far as not being all even and equal. So I decided to basically put a bit of an embargo on the situation and try and cut down on my cozies as much as I can. Now, this is not saying that I'm not going to be reading a lot of cozies, because I am. I have 3 cozy mystery series that I am hoping to either complete or be up to date with, that I've started fresh with in 2023 by the end of the year. And I also have a cozy mystery series that I'm buddy reading this year, where we're doing, with the exception of January, we read 2 books. Every month since then, I've read 1. So I am still planning to continue with that. And because of that, and I also have a new release for Poppy McAllister, a new release for Amish Candy Shop, and the latest new release of Secrets and Scrabbles, as well as the book after. So 6 and 7 of Secrets and Scrabbles. So I'm still going to have a lot of cozies anyway, which is going to annoy me because I want everything to be even, and it's just not. And I know that a lot of people are probably thinking, Mr. Francy, you just sound so crazy right now, because I don't even really care too much about my TBRs. I just read what I want when I'm in the mood. But the thing is, with me, I love my stats. I probably love them too much. Not in a way of looking at quote unquote how much better I am or anything like that. Certainly not. For me, it is a personal journey. I like looking back and saying, okay, so how many adult books did I read? Okay, how many contemporaries did I read this year? Oh, look at that number. Look at this. Look at that. And just looking at my own individual stats. And so to have it so off kilter, yeah, I need to in place an embargo. Okay, so now that you know that, there were some genres that I particularly wanted to highlight. And I'm just going to quickly mention them to you, because it just didn't look like I was going to get anywhere with them if I didn't highlight them. So one of these was thrillers. I wanted to try and read more thrillers than I had originally planned. Another was romances. Another was just having a look here, sorry. Horrors, definitely, I wanted to do. And LGBTIQ plus I made a point of as well, because if you all know me, you know how important that is to represent that on my channel. So I took the time to try and prioritize with those. I just want to make a point here that I'm not just putting an embargo on my cozies. I'm also doing it with my fantasies, because not only do I feel like if I lessen the amount of cozies that I read, do I feel that fantasy would take over, and then what would be the point, because then I would just be reading more fantasies than anything else and it wouldn't be even. But prior to reading cozies, I had this same issue with fantasy. So if you go back and look at look at my stats in 2021 and 2020, it was very lopsided in favor of fantasy. And also, I just want to make this point as well, before we do actually jump right in and look at what the amendments are to my SAS list. This is not something that I always want to do. 2023 for me is the year of me wanting to read more diversely, and reading more diversely in an even way for each genre that I can. So this is not something that I say that I'm going to do in 2024 or 2025 or whatever in the future. This is just something I'm wanting to focus on, particularly for this year. In saying that, I do have one more point to make, because I'm going to regret it if I don't make it. There is one genre that won't be represented on my channel, and it's not because I don't like this genre. And yes, it is going to annoy me when I get to the halfway mark and the end of the year mark, when I talk about my favorites and least favorites of halfway through the year and the end of the year, and that is sci-fi. I couldn't believe it. I spent hours, probably 4 or 5 hours, trying to deal with my TBR. And honestly, it was just incredibly ridiculous how long I spent on it. And then by the time I was done, I didn't want to go back and do more. But what I'd worked out was I hadn't placed any room for sci-fi. And at this stage, I haven't read any sci-fis this year, and there's no more room. So I will be ending the year this year without any sci-fis. One thing that I can project for next year is my first goal for 2024 is probably going to be to read 12 sci-fis by the end of the year. So I even made a point, and I showed you in my, for those of you who looked at my completely randomly unedited bookshelf tour videos, you might have noticed that I actually put my sci-fi books on display in order to remind me to read more sci-fi, and I'm not going to do it this year, and that's really annoying, but you need to know that. Alright, we're halfway through the video, so now let's jump in and talk about the amendments. Alright, so let's start off with my to be completed. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to, let's just go through them one by one. Alright, so first of all, let's put Personal Demons by Lisa DesRoches up on the screen. This will represent my Personal Demons trilogy. This trilogy has been completed and therefore is not affected. The second series on, we'll put up What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. This represents the What If It's Us duology. I have completed this. This series also won't be affected. Next, we'll put up The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is representing the Eldest Curses duology. I have read Red Scrolls of Magic. I will read The Lost Book of the White, Book 2, next month. So I will have this completed. Next, we're going to put up Lament at Loon Landing by Josh Lanyon. This will represent my Secrets and Scrabbles journey. I need to read this book plus the next one to be up to date, and I do still plan to do that. Next, we'll put up Amanah's Voice by Hannah Khan. This represents the Amanah's Voice duology. I've already completed this, so it will not be affected. Next, we'll put up a +1 for Murder by Laura Bradford. This represents the Friend for Hire duology. I've read a Friend for Hire. I'm reading A Perilous Pal next month, so this series will not be affected and it'll be crossed off the list then. Next, we're going to put up Clockwork Prince, which will represent, by Cassandra Clare, which will represent the Infernal Devices trilogy, which I read book 1 and 2 of, and I DNF'd book 3, but I'm still counting it as completed. Therefore, it's completed. Therefore, it's not affected by this embargo. Next up, we're going to put Flowers and Foul Play by Amanda Flower up on the screen. This will represent the Magic Garden mystery series. I've read Flowers and Foul Play. I plan to read book 2 next month, and I will be completing this series. Next, we're going to put up To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. This is representing the To All the Boys I Loved Before trilogy, and I have read the first 2 books, and I plan to read the third one this month. I am filming this in April. In case you're seeing it in May, I'm filming in April. And so that will be completed at the end of this month, so not affected. Next up, we're going to put up The Housemates by Ian Rob Wright. This represents the Damien-verse quartet. I, at the time of filming, have read 3 of the 4 books. I just need to read book 3, and then I'll be done. Therefore, that one's not affected either. We're next going to put up Apple Cider Slaying by Julie Ann Lindsay. That will represent the Cider Shop mystery series. I have read book 1 at the time of recording. I do plan to complete this series. Next up, we're going to put Under the Nether Sky by Veronica Rossi on the screen. This will represent the Under the Nether Sky trilogy. I do plan to read that because it will help me with my dystopians. Next up, we're going to put Uglies by Scott Westerfield up on the screen. This will represent the Uglies Quartet by Scott Westerfield. I do plan to complete this series because, again, it's going to help me with my dystopians. So, those series will stay. Now, we're going to talk about the series that will not be staying because I just won't have time, or if there are other reasons, I will let you know. Furthermore by Tahara Murphy will represent the Furthermore duology. I DNF'd Furthermore as well as Witchwood, so I crossed it off the list. Next up, The Conspiracy of Us by Maggie Hall will represent the Conspiracy of Us trilogy, and I have crossed this off my SAS list because the audio is no longer available. Once upon a time it was available for me. I need to be specific with this. It is currently not available in my country. So it may be for you, but for me, I do not have access to it in Australia. Alright, next up we'll put up Inkworld by Cornelia Funke. This will represent the Inkworld trilogy. I've run out of time with this one. I will not be able to read this series this year. Next up, we'll put up Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is probably the most heartbreaking because it is a sci-fi trilogy, but this one has also been dumped from my SAS list because I don't have enough time. And finally, we'll put The Giver by Lois Lowry up on the screen. This will represent the Giver Quartet. This one I also don't have enough time for, and this one I'm also very disappointed because I've been wanting to read this series for 3 years, but I just don't have enough time, so there you go. So, looking on the whole at the first section of my SAS list, my to be completed, the only series that I'm keeping that I haven't yet begun are the Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi trilogy and the Uglies Quartet by Scott Westerfield, and I'm only keeping them because they are going to help me to ensure I read enough dystopians this year. Otherwise, if I have not started a series on my to be completed SAS list, it will not be remaining on my SAS list for this year. It is open as an option for next year, which is fine, as will any of the series that I'm scrapping because I don't have time for them, but for now, they are going to be removed from the SAS list. Alright, now let's move on to section 2, which is my to get as far through as I can. And first up, we're going to put Crime and Poetry by Amanda Flower. This is book 1 in the Magical Bookshop mystery series, so will therefore represent that series. I have read that book. I do plan to get through that series. So it's a 5-book series. I will get through that one. Next up, I'm going to put in The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis, despite it being book 2 in publication order. This will represent the Chronicles of Narnia series. I read the first 2 books, and I will get through this series. Now for the most heartbreaking of all. Let's put up As Told by the Boys by Caroline Peckham. Is that her name? Yes, by Caroline Peckham. This is going to represent the Zodiac Academy series. I've read book 1, and the book you're seeing currently is book 1.5, and I will be reading book 2 next month. I am then going to be shelving the Zodiac Academy series until next year. I know, I can already hear the boos coming through. It reminds me of that Simpsons episode. Are you saying boo or boo-earns?
Are you saying boo or boo-earns?
I can hear the boos coming through, I can. But here's the thing. I need to place an embargo on cozies and fantasy. This is a fantasy series, and that is the only reason why I am crossing it off for this year. It is being shelved, and books 3 through to 8 will be read in 2024. I can ensure that they will be read then because I love the series, but I just can't if I'm going to try and keep things as even as I possibly can. Okay, next up, let's put Evermore by Alison Noel up on the screen. Book 1 in the Immortal series. It will represent that series. I've read this book, and I will be reading Blue Moon next month, which will be book 2, but then I will read books 3 to 6 in 2024. So that one's being scrapped as well after I read book 2. With my classics collection, you may recall, if you want, go back and look at my original SAS list video, I had a compilation of 10 classic books that I wanted to read, and I just called them a Mr. Francy version of a series and called it my classics collection. I plan on reading 3 of these books. The reason being that I'm reading the Chronicles of Narnia series, which is 7 classic books in and of themselves, despite the fact that it's a series, and I want to get to 10 classic books. So I'll read 3 of them. I'm not going to say which ones. I'll leave them as surprises, but then I will see what happens with 4 to 10. I'll probably or 4 to 12, whatever it is, for the rest of the classics collection series. I will read them in 2024. Okay. So that is for to get through as far as I can. That is the section of I will keep going to a certain point or I will complete. Now to these ones are being shelved or just being phased out section. And I know I will get boos for this one. I am booing myself, but it is a long series and I am not favoring the genre this time round in this year. So therefore, that's why it's being shelved. But please know I love it and it will be read next year. So let's put up I know, I'm gonna get booze for it. Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's Library by Chris Gravenstein. I am going to be shelving the Mr. Lemoncello's Library series. I will read books 2 to 6 in 2024. I loved book 1. I cannot impress upon you how much I loved book 1. But for this to work for me, for me to have an even or close to even amount of genres as I want, mysteries are being shelved, and this is a mystery series. If it's not a mystery series, it's a fantasy series, and we've already spoken about why I need to shelve fantasy series anyway, so either way, it's just being shelved for that reason. As with Zodiac Academy, this series will be a high priority for me in 2024. Alright, next up. The Wayward Children series by Shannon Maguire. Let's put Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon Maguire up on the screen. I've read book 1 and 2. I shelved book 3. I will get back to it in 2024, or I'll hope to get back to it in 2024, but it's a fantasy series, and that's why that one is being shelved. Now, let's put up a random book for the Del Toro Quest series up on the screen to represent that. And yeah, I was planning on reading series 2 and 3 this year, or at least starting them, but they are a fantasy series, and that's why they've been shelved. Now let's put up Midnight for Charlie Bone by Jenny Nimmo up on the screen. This represents the, I think it's Red King series or something like that. Now, this series is a fantasy series, so that's been shelved as well. And let's put up the Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This disappoints me a lot as well, but because mystery is not going to be fully represented on the channel, it will be represented under cozy mysteries, but not standard mystery. This one has been shelved as well. So I have not read any of these, and it's been shelved to 2024. All right. So let's now move on to my third section, which is my to make some good headway, or at least begin. I have 6 series in this section. One of them I plan to continue on with this year. 2 of them I plan to continue on with next year. And, one of them I plan to start next year, and 2 of them I plan to completely phase out. So let's do this. Alright, first up, let's put Death of a Christmas Caterer up on the screen to represent the Hayley Powell Food and Cocktail Mystery Series. This series, we read books 1 and 2 in January, and then 3 in February, 4 in March, and so on and so forth. It will go. This will remain because it's a buddy read for me. Not only is it a buddy read on my Discord, but it is a buddy read that includes my own mother, who we call on the Discord Mama Francy. Because of this, and because of the fact that I love that she's reading the series, and because I enjoy it, I will continue on with this buddy read. But because I'm continuing on, that is already a good 8 cozies on their own that I'm going to be reading, which is why I need to be harsh with any other cozies, which you'll see more about in just a moment. Next up, let's put, oh goodness, I can't even think of a name. French Press by Cleo Coyle up on the screen. This will represent the Coffee House Mystery Series. I've read the first 6. I plan to read 7 to 19 in 2024, but this was already planned. If you've been following me, you already knew this. I did not plan to read any more Coffee House this year. I already plan to read it next year. Next up, let's put Beaches, Bungalows and Burglaries by Tonya Kappas up on the screen. This is the Campers and Criminals series. This series I plan to continue on with next year as well. So I'll have Coffee House and Campers and Criminals side by side as my major cozies that I read through next year. Okay. Next up, we're going to put a book that I have not probably spoken about since my SAS list video, which is Game Changer by Rachel Reed. This is going to represent the Game Changers series. There are 6 books in this series. I have not started this series. I will be reading this series next year. And believe you me, I was very disappointed when I realized not only is this not a cozy series, but it is a male romance series that I have decided to shelve till next year. So I'm annoyed with myself that I've locked things in. It will get read. It'll just get read next year. Okay. Now to the 2 series I have not started that will be phased out. Okay, so the first book we're putting up on the screen is Curiosity Thrilled the Cat by Sophie Kelly. This is book number 1 in the Magical Cats Mystery Series. This series I will not be reading. I'm not saying that I won't ever read it, but I'm just taking it off the SAS list. There are many reasons. One is my cozy mystery embargo, but the other is there are 14 books in this series. I already have so many huge series I'm dealing with anyway, like the Tonya Kappas and the Cleo Coyle and the Lee Hollis series. So I'm just taking it off the SAS list to take the stress off myself. And finally, let's put Murder Past Due by Miranda James up on the screen. This is book 1 in the Cat in the Stacks series. And for the exact same reasons, this series is going to be taken off my SAS list because it's a cozy series. I have my cozy embargo and there are 15 books currently in this series. And so therefore, yeah, I just don't have the time. Alright, I'm going to wrap it up here because we've already been going on for far too long anyway. But if you would like a proper look at the SAS list, a visual, if you will, of the entire list and how it's been affected, please click on the link below and you can join the Discord. Come on over, everyone's really friendly over there. So come on over and hang out anyway. But in the meantime, if you go to my reading/bookish goals and click on the channel of Mr. Francy, you will find the 2023 SAS list. I'm going to leave the SAS list with those that are either being stopped by me or that are being shelved till next year to represent that, so that you are aware if you did want to take up that option. There we go. It was a long one, but it needed to be because there was a lot I needed to discuss with you. I wanted you all to know why this was happening, and then I wanted you all to know what was happening. So, have you made any changes to your TBR? How far in advance do you plan your TBR? Are you like me and plan all the way through to the end of the year, or do you do it month by month, or do you do it book by book? Let me know in the comments section below. But in the meantime, that is where I am going to leave it, letting you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone!